Hey everybody. I'm going to take a few minutes today to share a tutorial with you on how to prioritize your work with the Eisenhower Box. The goal of the session is for you to improve your effectiveness at accomplishing work that really matters to you, and for you to feel satisfied with what you accomplished. My name is Jeff Urton, and I'm a certified leadership coach. I'm the principal and head coach of Your Purpose Coaching. And Your Purpose is all about empowering people to do their best work, to be most effective, and to achieve what really matters to them. So let's get into it. I've used the image of a sailboat here. And the reason I've done that is because we have this experience of being sort of blown around by all of these demands coming at us, right? Tasks to do. And it's human nature to have this sort of default automatic experience of like, well, this is coming at me, I have to do it. Thing comes at me, I've got to do it. And in fact, as human beings, we're decision-making machines. We're animals, and animals have this too, right? We're constantly taking in stimuli from around us and making a decision about what to do about that stimuli. What do I need to do right now based on what's happening around me in order to survive and maybe even to thrive? So what we want to do here is bring some intention to those moments where you are actually making decisions with what is in the information that's coming at you, to realize that we are actually ourselves making those decisions about what to do and what not to do, and to use this tool to bring some intention to when something comes at me, what I should do about it, instead of just being on this automatic of doing everything that comes at us. So I hope that's going to be empowering for you. And let's get into it now. We'll have you kind of regain control of your ship. So I'm going to create the Eisenhower box here with two different distinctions. And the first of those is important versus not important. Important work is what's going to get you results, right? Important work is something that you know you're proficient at. There's something to accomplish here, and I know I can accomplish it, and it's worth accomplishing because it's going to get a result that matters to me or to my business, to my organization, to my client or my customer. And it may be personally fulfilling for you. It may be enjoyable for you, but it may also not be. Some of these important things are things that just need to get done. But what really matters here is that it's important if it's a good use of your time that's going to generate results that matter to you and your organization, your business. Not important work is not that. And I think you probably know yourself when you're doing not important work. I'm sure you feel it inside of this restlessness about like, oh, what I'm doing right now is really not important, and yet I'm doing it anyway. And I wish I wasn't doing it. I wish I was doing something that was really important, that was going to get me results to achieve the goals that I really want. So that's the first thing to bring your intention to, is to bring your attention to when things come at you, and then to bring your intention to determine what to do about it. So discerning, is this really important? Is it going to get me results, or is it really not important? The second distinction is urgent versus not urgent. And so this is not really about the value that's provided out of this work. That's the important versus not important distinction. This distinction is about the sort of timeliness of it. Does it need to be done now, or can it wait until later? And what I think we do commonly, and it's just, again, human nature, maybe even animal nature as well, is that we tend to prioritize the things that are urgent because there is some there's pressure there, there's an expectation there, there's urgency, the experience of urgency, like this needs to be done now. And we tend to confuse urgency and importance, and we make this automatic default assumption that what's urgently coming at us to do is the most important thing, because in that moment it does seem like it's the most important thing. And we lose sight kind of in our attention span of what might be important in the longer run. So there's a discernment here as these things come at you as well, between what's urgent, what has a demand or an expectation to be done now, and that possibly couldn't wait until later, and things that don't need to be done immediately in this moment. So when we put these things together, we get this matrix, and it's called the Eisenhower Box because apparently U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower used it for his own decision-making. And I don't know if he came up with it or it was something that he'd learned himself, but he's the one who kind of famously put this into practice. And it's really been used widely and recommended by personal productivity, professional productivity management experts and trainers since then. So what this does when we put these two distinctions together is it creates this matrix, and it creates 4 categories of items that we can kind of assign to items that come to us to do, potential tasks to do. So the first category is things that are both important and urgent. These are things that, like I said, they're important, they matter to your business, they're going to get you results, and they're urgent. There's some reason to do it now. I'll use a simple example for this one. It's like picking up the phone when a customer calls, right? A customer is calling you. It's someone who wants to do business with you. It's somebody who, perhaps if you're a nonprofit, it's somebody who needs your service for a reason that relates to your mission. And they're calling you now. And so it's important work because it's going to allow you to provide your service, and it's urgent because now is when they're calling. Now they can leave a voicemail and you can get back to them, right? But I would assert that if you're wanting to provide exceptional customer service, that you're going to speak to them right now if you can. So there's a simple example of something that's probably going to land in most people's categories as important and urgent, and that's picking up the phone when a customer calls. With these things, we're just going to do them, right? This meets both tests. There's value to doing this. It's worthwhile doing it. So we're just going to do it now. We're not going to put it off. There's a second category here to get into, what is important but not urgent. Now, these are the things that I have seen this described in the past as the delay box. And that I think is a problem because, frankly, this is what we do. Is our default is that we delay these things that we know are important to do, but they're not urgent. No one's kind of screaming at us to get stuff done right now, so we put them off. That's why what I really like about this box, and I've seen it described before as the decide when category. So these items, we're not just going to delay them. We're actually going to decide when we're going to do these things, and we're going to put them on our calendar. We're going to schedule time to do it, and we're going to get those things done. These are the things that will make a big difference for us in the long run. These are the things that might take a bit more time. They might take a bit time for us to hive off an hour or two in our schedule from time to time to get these things done. But they're the kinds of things that are going to make a bigger difference. They might be rethinking a process. It might be building stakeholder relationships with people that are important for your work. It might be producing something that's creative or inventive, a new process or a new structure, taking an idea you have and spelling it out into a proposal. It's these kinds of more substantial things that we tend to put off. And then at the end of the year, sometimes the end of the month, the end of the year, you look at your list of what your goals were, and you notice that these things you never got to because you were spending most of your time caught up in the urgent. So I've heard this described as the Zen of prioritization, is getting into this box as much as possible. That's the goal. Get to this box whenever you can. Schedule it in. Don't put it off. And make sure that when you do schedule it in, you actually commit to that and you set aside some of the urgent things so that you can focus on this kind of really important, kind of deeper work that's going to get you possibly game-changing leapfrog results in the long run. Okay, category 3 is not important and yet urgent. So this is an interesting one, and it might seem that there's a little bit of a kind of paradox in this one. Like, how can something be not important but urgent? Well, the truth is, it might not be important to you, but if there's urgency being communicated, it's important to someone. That could be your boss. It could be a colleague, a partner, a peer. It could be a client, right? Things like this, that there is some time-sensitive nature to it. Like, somebody wants this done now. There's a reason to do it now. But it's maybe not your best use of time. You kind of know you've been doing this for a while. There's this urgent stuff that I'm doing, and it's kind of, I've outgrown it. There are tasks here that I should be able to be spending my time doing things that are more valuable, more worthy of my skills. And yet I'm stuck doing this kind of work that doesn't feel like it's important to me. Here's the key to this one. I think it's seeing that this work that may not be important to you is important to someone. For someone, this is important work. This task that doesn't seem like it's the best use of your time is a terrific use of someone else's time. It engages and fulfills them. It might challenge them and give them an opportunity to grow. So it is an important work for someone else. And so your task here is to figure out who that is and how to make it happen. Now, if you're an individual contributor, you might be saying, well, I don't have employees to delegate to. That's why it's important to be creative with this. And I'll pop up the guidance on this one, which is to delegate, since I'm talking about it now. So you want to delegate these things, get them into someone's hands for whom it may be important work and worthwhile of their time. If, like I said, if you're an individual contributor, you may not have someone you can delegate to, but it's worth having conversations with your boss, maybe with peers, other coworkers, to say, hey, this thing doesn't feel like a good use of my time anymore. I see there's urgency to get it done, and I'm not really sure where to go with that. Who might this be better quality work for? If you work for a nonprofit and you have volunteers, it might be perfect volunteer work. It might be a great opportunity for a volunteer to be engaged with your work and to feel like they're doing something important. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've struggled with myself in this category is feeling like I am the one who has to do everything. There may be tasks or responsibilities that I've had for years, and I feel like, well, it's got to be me. I'm not gonna give you specific guidance on exactly how to go about doing this, but what I am gonna share here is that I think this box for me is actually all about a spirit of generosity, and it's the spirit of generosity is identifying that like I've said already a number of times, there is someone for whom this work is important. These tasks are important, and your job is to find those things out. So if you have an employee, you're a manager, you have the opportunity to delegate to people, you got to think back to the fact that when you started doing this task, you might have only been 50% with the first time you did it, and then you got up to 75 with some training, and now you're 90 to 100% proficient at this thing. It is absolutely okay if someone comes in at 50%, because that's where you came in too. And they're going to have an opportunity to grow. You're going to give them feedback on their performance. You're going to coach them, and they're going to get up to 75 and eventually 100% of it. And it may be excruciating for you because in the short term, it may not look like it's getting done that well, but it is better in the hands of someone else for whom it is important work, doing it at 75%, than it is in your hands doing it 100% when you could possibly be spending that time better on doing more important things that are actually going to get you better results. So be generous. Hand this work off to other people, delegate it, inspire others to do it, and do it in a way that's actually going to be generous and giving people an opportunity to grow in their own skills. Now, the last category, not important and yet not, and also not urgent. Now, this one seems easy. We should just dump these things, get rid of them. And I imagine I've had this myself. I haven't put a lot of attention to this one myself in the past because I said like, oh, well, obviously if it's unimportant and it's not urgent, I just don't do that stuff anyway. But here's what I do, you guys. I actually do commit to doing these things, and then I never do anything about them. You know why? I don't want to let people down. I don't want to be direct with people and tell them I'm not going to do something. So a request comes at me. I know it's not important. I feel no urgency about it. And you know what I do? I'll give some inauthentic commitment to them, like I'll try to get to that. I'll put it on my list, or I'll see what I can do. And then it may end up on my list, like way down at the bottom here, where I know I'm never going to get to it. And that causes incredible clutter for us. It causes clutter in our lists, what we're prioritizing to do. It causes clutter in that relationship, and it causes clutter mentally and emotionally for us. Because what happens to me when I do that is that thing hangs out there, and it gives me anxiety. It gives me guilt that I know I'm never going to get it done when I told somebody I would, or I try my best at it. And it saps us of energy, totally saps us of energy. So these things, here's what you got to do. These things, you make a decision not to do them, and you communicate that decision. That's what this dumping category really looks like. Because if you've not communicated it, you have not dumped it. So you communicate it courteously, right? You're not rude to people, but when someone brings something to you that you know is not important and not urgent for you, you have a moment where you get real with them, and you say, look, I really understand that this is something that is of value to you, and these are where my priorities are. These are the decisions I've made, and what's important to me, my boss, my organization, my clients, for where I have to put my time. And this item that you're bringing to me, I just don't see it matching with where my priorities are, and I'm just not able to do it. You may be able to offer a conversation about like, hey, how could we look at some other resources available to make this get done, coming from a place of sort of compassion for the fact that you want to help this person out, but you can't. But you communicate it, and be direct about it. And all the kind of gentle harmonizing kind of stuff I did right now, that's nice. You don't even have to do it. You can say like, look, I really wish I could help you, but I just can't. It's not something I'm going to do. And so I don't want to give you a promise or an expectation that I'm going to take care of this, because it's not something that's a priority for me and I can't get it done. And then it's done and it's over. It's not on your list hanging out. You've communicated it clearly, and you get focused back on the work that's truly important for you to do. Okay. So that's the Eisenhower matrix. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to just practice that yourself. You can put a little T in your notebook, and you can practice just assigning things to categories as they come in. And this is a great habit. I have to come back to it myself from time to time, and actually be disciplined and put it out and go like, okay, if this list of a dozen things I've got here, where do they really land? Over time, you might not need to keep that T, and it'll become more natural to you to make this intentional decision-making around, okay, is this a do now? Is this a decide when? Or, do I actually need to think about, if this is a recurring task that doesn't feel like a good use of my time, who else can I find who could do this? And somebody for whom it would be important work, it would be valuable for them to do. Is there something I need to communicate here about something that I'm really not going to do because I've decided it's not worthy of my time, and I actually just need to communicate it and get it off my list altogether? So play with that, practice it. And if you're interested in learning more about personal productivity and leadership, follow my YouTube channel. I'll be sharing more videos there with tutorials like this. And if you're interested in seeking out coaching for yourself or for your teams to develop your own leadership and your own effectiveness in your business or in your mission, you can get in touch with me, and I'll give you a complimentary introductory session, and you can kind of explore what coaching and consulting and training might be like with me. So you can do that at yourpurpose.net, or you can send me an email, jeff@yourpurpose.net, GEOFF@yourpurpose.net. Okay, thanks very much for listening, and we'll talk soon.